No.
So, I was sitting here, and even though it's a Monday, I was sitting out and I was watching the sunset, and I started talking about I started thinking about and talking to myself about the mysterious entanglement of life. You know, this whole fucking thing. You know, it starts broad. You know, from the moment you become alive, and you're sitting there and you go, "Holy shit!" Later on, you know, I'm alive. And I was once a little bitty fucker that came out of as a mammal. I came out of a vagina, and now I'm alive. I'm Lord have mercy, I've grown a lot since then. Some, but now I'm here, and I'm walking around on a ball of dirt, rock, and water, and there's a big sun. It's very hot where I'm at. It's lots of fire too, lots of smoke, lots of shit like that.
Yeah.
So I'm in one of my rare moods, dog. I need to understand some shit. I need somebody. I don't want no crazy shit. I want somebody to help me understand this kind of shit. Tell me about it.
Well, I ain't in the right mindset to really help you all that much.
I lost my psychologist license yesterday, Brad.
Shit, I don't know, man. I mean, hell, it's just consciousness. I mean, if you believe you have it, then it's just what it is.
Hey, I walked in after a long day at work, and I was sitting here, and all of a sudden, I had to fix the four-wheeler when I got home. I was like, oh, shit, no. And then I was like, well, you know what? The word is fucking with me, so I'm going to fuck with Donald. So tell me, you can't back out. You've got to give me you got to break it down for me. Don't just give me no short answer. Let's break it down. Well, you're right. You started it off correctly. I agree with where you started. But what is it? I mean, what is this? I mean, like I'm birthed out here, and now I'm here. I mean, what is the purpose of all this? Should I be doing anything? Do you have any advice on that today or no?
No, I mean, just do what you feel you got to get by, make the best choices you can every day, and, I don't know. Because I ain't the perfect version of any of it, so I don't think I could really say it in any way that'll make any more sense to you than, it makes it to me, because I don't understand it either. I mean, that's kind of where, you just got to be in the right mindset to, philosophize about it. How about you tell me? I mean, what are you seeing? You talking about, you took the little sperm and you came out of vagina, and, what do you think that you have a purpose here, or is it just random, blind chance, chaos in the universe?
Well, I mean, how about a little bit of both? I mean, sometimes I feel like there's some purpose, but in the right frame of mind, I can feel anything. But now, different frames of mind, I feel different kinds of stuff, and the different kinds of stuff I feel in those different kinds of days is not that. Sometimes I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm probably mentally ill because sometimes I'm God, because everything's going right. I got up, my breakfast is exactly the right temperature for me. My wife said bye in a nice, sweet manner. My kid wasn't pissed at me, yeah. I mean, it was a great fucking day. If everything can line up that day, I'm God. But now if everything goes to shit from the moment I wake up, my coffee's not ready, not tasting correctly, I didn't blend it right. Yeah, I mean, I could turn into, a less than stellar and happy person to be around real fucking quick, like a lot of
course.
People. Yeah. But now let me say this though. But now that's where I live most of the time. I live in a response to my environment, and a lot of times I know it's better than that. I know I should be. I know I should be transcending that and living somewhere else and avoiding all that and understanding that people that are stuck in the rat race are stuck in a rat race. But I decided a long time ago that I would not be a private Buddha, that I would be a Buddha that would come back and exist and try to help the rest of my contemporaries. And that was a decision I made. That's my perspective. Whenever I'm trying to whenever I'm trying to understand, kind of where I'm at. And that was my excuse. I said that I'm here to help things. In other words, I'm not trying to say that I'm existing on a higher plane or anything like that, but I kind of alluded to that, but just as a joke, because I'm definitely not that. But
right.
But I do try to look at it like I do for most of my day. I do that. Now, there are times whenever I get involved with my personal issues, I get bogged down with stuff. There's the things that I can't get over. But like the things with work, see, people don't understand about if you have a job that you enjoy and you get to the zen of it and you're doing it, it feels great. The biggest problem that people have, in my opinion, is dealing with other people, because we're all gods. I think even Jesus said it. Have I not said that ye are all gods? In Isaiah. But the thing of it is that that's a very deep subject. And sometimes, like today, when it's a Monday, and I'm frustrated. I've been everywhere. I've done everything. I've spent time in front of a computer. I spent time in a vehicle. I spent time on a levee, on a big river, driving along, thinking, holy hell, what am I doing here? And to being at my home with my kids and my wife and dealing with all the things that are here and these other people, and a day by day, I'm trying not to make contact. I'm definitely a private Buddha today. But it's all really just crazy shit because I'm a fucking nutball. That's the reality of it. I'm a fucking nutball, Donald. Are you?
Well, of course, I am too, man. Now, but you talk about, so your experiences today, were very much, like what you thought. Well, then, mine was closer to 2 or 3 days of Benadryl induced from them cutting hay and baling and me putting up with allergies. But the last 3 days has been pretty much just a blah. My head is like thick like molasses. But sometimes I know the exact feeling you're talking about getting into. You get to the one where you feel the connection to everything, to where you feel you opened your mind enough to question something more beyond what you personally have going in your life. And then, you actually phrased it pretty well earlier. It was about, I can't remember exactly the way you said it, though, but it boiled down to, you try to always be considerate of everybody, and you get into that zen moment, and you're trying to, hey, just be the best person you can to lift somebody else's day. And then there's times shit happens to you, and then you say, well, you don't feel any of that consideration. No, that's not necessarily you're getting it. It's just maybe you don't feel it at that time. I mean, that's the times you're not zen. That they can, they consider it and they think about you, your family, especially. But you might not feel it at that moment. Well, that's just one of those breakdown, non-zen moments. But 98% of the time, you're going to put yourself in front of your customer. I mean, you're in a sales type position, as such as it is in a broad stroke. And it's, you got to be able to, give and take and laugh and be easy with people and just try to make them feel comfortable and just brighten their day for no reason other than, hey, man, I'm here to talk to you. Have a great day. See you later. No, I just kind of think that's a paraphrase of the way I believe you got to do every day anyway,
Well, you got to make the best of it. And sometimes it's hard. Like today, it was Monday. It's hard for a lot of people, Sometimes, like you said, you got to go out and there's not a lot of expectation. People are just assumed to go off on their own and do what they want to do on Monday. So, whew, damn. Four-wheeler. I'm breathing dust out here. So, like you, I'm going to tell you right now, we've been very dusty here anyway. So, like, if you tell me you've been having some, they've been out there cutting hay near you, Jesus. My son's been riding an ATV near me, and, oh, my God, whew, I can't even breathe right now. So we just put that thing up. That's what I was doing when you were talking. I was directing him towards the shed. Oh, my God. But anyway, I can smell dust right now. But now I've been smelling fire for the past couple of days. I heard a few months ago people up in, the northern part of the United States were talking about there was, fire from Canada. Damn, I can't get this out of me. The other day I was sneezing. But anyway, we're going to be out in a second. But there's been fires all around the planet this year. From what I understand, we're in El Nino, and that's whenever the Pacific waters warm up. And La Nina, which we've been in for 3 years, has whenever the Pacific waters cool down. But apparently they're very warm now, if I'm judging from the dust in my yard. What do you think about all this science and mystical shit going on there? I mean, is there any mystical shit? Is it in the world? Is what is it?
I don't think it's any of that. I just think, hell, I mean, there's some climate change and shit and going on, but now, the big argument is, are we causing it? I believe we are, but it could just be a thing that would be happening naturally. I mean, it's just one of the things that, we can't do much about it because Mother Nature is always going to win. I mean, there ain't no satellites, there ain't no trips to Mars, no reverse technology that's going to make, Mother Earth go, okay, I'm going to move rain right where you want it. That shit just don't happen. When you're talking about global, the global environment, the temperatures and the ranges and that kind of stuff. Yeah, look, if you believe in global warming and you want to work towards a change, by all means do it. If you don't believe it, don't hold back the folks that want to do it. I mean, vice versa, type thing.
Well, okay. So let me just say this. Let me throw that out there. I remember back in about the time you and I graduated high school, back in 1990. Okay, I remember, about that time it getting up to 86 degrees and me going, damn, man, sure it is hot. And all those old men said, you ain't seen nothing yet, boy. We just been cold in a cold spell for a while. And really, I mean, from 1975 on up. I know 1977 and 78 were some of the coldest years, and everybody was talking about was going to a freeze. But then they stopped talking about the hot and the cold and just talking this climatic change. And it's dramatic. There's lots of storms. There's lots of fires. There's lots of all kinds of stuff going on. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've never really been diagnosed as asthmatic. But if I had to live in a really dusty area like I'm living right now without a mask and being 50-something years old, this is not good for my breathing, I can tell you, okay? And this is just an environmental thing. It's not necessarily a climatic thing. It's more of a local thing. But everybody's talking about the same kind of shit going on wherever they're at. We have extremes of whatever. We have extreme heat, extreme cold, extreme storms, extreme dust, extreme this, that, the other. So it's not just... But then again, that could just be the human psyche because everything is extreme right now. And if you want to go into a more mystical perspective, that's what I said. And I asked you the question, I'm like, you have any scientific or other kind of perspective, mystical, whatever it is, kind of perspective? And I don't know. I mean, you and I have talked about these things before. It's like, it's so weird. And like, to me, I look at it from, I hate to say Eastern, because it's not really that. It's human. It's just humans from other perspectives. But there are multiple human perspectives on where we're at. If you look at the Buddhists or the Hindu, specifically the Hindu, they'll say that we're at the end of the Octoon, or not the Octoon, that was the Mayans people 10 years ago, but Yuga, the Kali Yuga. We're in the Kali Yuga right now, which is the end of the last thing, the last four. Those are the Yugas. And then you look at everything else, and it's like the Christian people, which, I can identify with some, but, there's a lot of things that I don't identify with. I can't comprehend it. I haven't studied that as much as I have other kinds of books. Now, I've studied books that are related to religion, specifically the Bible, but it just, to me, it doesn't read like a science book, which is what I've primarily been taught. And I'm not trying to be offensive to people that are, Bible oriented, but there's a lot of holes to me as somebody that reads things. I'm not even a professional in anything of the other. I'm a social media, kind of person. And I'm a YouTuber, That's what you could call me. There's other things other people call me, but as a general rule, that's it. And I don't have any special emphasis on it, but I know that I just know that that a lot of the things that we think in popular culture are probably not the true answers. There's so many variations trying to describe the same thing, and to me, I don't have any answers. I heard this really great answer. I'm gonna let you talk to you for a minute, but there's this old guy I worked with, and he was a crane operator. And the first time I worked with him, I was like 19, and we worked on a huge dirt job out in Texas. It was a huge pole yard for where they let the timber sit, the poles sit for long periods of time and just weather and age before they do things with them. And then they would cut them, and then they would do whatever they do with it. But they set them out there, and of course we were out there, and they would set them out there, but we sat out there and we carved out it's alluvial plain, so it's like these on the top side of the alluvial plain, so it was just hills and hills, and we sat out there for 1,000 acres and carved out this huge wood yard, and it had to be various grades all the way down. And my uncle and I, he passed away, we sat out there for years and years and years and years, not years and years and years, but days and days and days and hours and hours and hours, like forever. And I was holding a stick, and he was with a transit, and we would mark the grade of everything out there, all the way up and down there. And they had these tractors that would come in that would program it with that shit and figure out how to do with those numbers that we gave them, and would dump dirt in certain places. That was really cool as hell, Anyway, so I was way the fuck out there in the middle of that kind of place. This was young Brad. Young Brad. This is what I've been thinking about lately, is that young Brad. How did this motherfucker get to be where I am now? Because you don't just easily go from where I am to where you are, from where you were to where you are, from where I was to where I am. You don't easily do that. It's complicated. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of fucking days. I don't even know what the number of days is, but you look it up. 10 years is what? 3,600 days. 3,650 days, whatever. So it adds up.
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me where I'm at, what I'm thinking about. You let me know what you're thinking from what I'm telling you. Or what I'm saying. Was it inspire anything from me? What's it say?
It sounds like it's just life. You start out as an age, and if you depending on your parental situations, give, take, good, bad, whatever, you grow into whoever you are. And the being able to try to look back and go, how'd I go from here to here, when you can't really answer it other than, oh, well, that made sense. Well, it made sense after the choice. But, you made a choice at that point, and once made, you move beyond it to a certain point, so you can look back and try to go, well, hey, what made me do that? But it's just life. You do what you can. You turn into the individual you were raised to be, and everything after that is your choices. And if you want to believe in the spaghetti monster, then you could believe in the spaghetti monster. If you don't, well, then don't.
But think about it. Okay, let's go deeper with it, because I'm a very advanced fucking monkey, they tell me, from my science books. And some other people tell me that I'm 5,000 years old, and that I was created by God, and some really weird shit that creates stuff and floats stuff around. It's very hard for me to believe. It's easier for me to believe that I was a primate at one point in time. In fact, I probably am a primate at some point in time. In fact, I am one now. I'm just calling myself something else because of the fact that I have 1,600 centimeters of brain, which the Neanderthals probably had more. So, I'm floating around on a ball of dirt, rock, and water, and I'm dealing with all the shit you're talking about. And at the same time, I know that I'm floating around on a ball of dirt, rock, and water. I've studied the history, either from a biblical perspective, and I understand that perspective as well. I can discuss it. But I'm also looking at other perspectives as well. You already know that. Everybody that's listening to this already knows the biblical perspective. There was something happened to Adam and Eve, and some bullshit happened for how many every generation, and then something else happened with a barn or something, Somebody was hung to a cross. I'm not trying to get real deep with it, but I'm just trying to let you know that's the story we're told. Those stories that, something else. And then way back, it was a big bang. It was just, nothing. And it contained no space. And then it expanded real fucking quick. Real fucking big. From nothing to everything that there is. From,
Is that gerbil? Is that gerbil smoking? I was waiting for you to wind down. He's like,
I could go on. I mean, I could, because this is ever intriguing to me, though. It's like, but think about it. Where do you go? I mean, okay, I'm going to let you do it, okay? Get your microscope and narrow it down or twist it out or something. Make it stay where it's at. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I can only say it from me personally. I mean, again, the religious that gets into what we call trappings of society. You know, I mean, you as an individual, regardless of whether you're considered in civilized term, a leader or a follower, a wolf or a sheep, pick your term for it. Some folks just need it, some folks don't. But at the end of the day, you as an individual, you've only got your own personal beliefs to go back on. You can't listen to what somebody else says. You can pay attention to it and think about it for the perspectives of someone, not of yourself, and try to look at them from their point of view. And sometimes you can learn something, but if you choose to ignore it after that, that's still a choice. You made that choice, So I mean, the only way you can answer that is, I can't tell you any better than you could probably articulate all the complexities I think about what I consider religion. I'm agnostic. It can't be figured out. If there's a plan, I can't know it. And if there's not a plan, well, then it don't matter anyway. And so all I can do is live the best way I live, and what I guess makes me feel better about myself. We stumble, we try to pull ourselves back up to get to a better place, to go back to saying, I want 5 more days just like this in a row. Those days you were, going that call back up. You wake up, the coffee's perfect, the eggs are perfect, the wife is perfect, the drive is perfect. I want 5 more of those days straight in a row. If you're in a good spot, you can have those, even whenever you have the days that your coffee ain't quite so good. But maybe the drive was good. Okay, straight off. Yeah, still a better day than the one where you stubbed your toe getting out, hung that pinky toe outside that sandal I saw you wearing the other day. You should go break that toe. And, those days. Yeah, you know what I'm going to try and say.
Well, and that's exactly it. And that's the whole thing. That's what keeps me going on, is optimism, because I can't dwell too long in the dark. But now I get around people that are very dark. Oh, my goodness. Well, you can tell it. And it's not my natural state, because my natural state is a very symbiotic with life. I listen to crickets too much. I walk outside too much. I cannot coexist with all that negative. Even in the winter, you hear the crows. Ah! There's always something going on. So there's always a positivity out there. Even if something's getting killed, like the other day, I saw this like a big cat holding a monkey mother head in its mouth, and the little baby was holding on to it. And somebody was like, "Oh, that's motherhood." And I'm like, "That's a fucking lie. That's like that little show from the cartoons we saw in the 90s. It's a circle of life." Oh, you for a minute.
Oh, it's one of them cult songs everybody sings. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that was what was that song? It was from that movie.
It was The Lion King.
The Lion King. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many cults out there. I mean, there's a lot of cults out there. Don't talk about it too deep, but there's all kinds of things that, whenever you think that, whenever you go out there and you hear some shit and it doesn't sound like the bugs that shine out here and make noises at nighttime, you probably need to reconsider what you hear, because it ain't in tune with nature. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I've always been one of those, who think about, all right, so going back to say, hey, if the people want to believe the spaghetti monster's going to come give them, and do the 50 cent thing, and they get on a spaceship, they have a right to believe it. And society, now this is where you go back to that societal thing. Society is the one who decides that, well, no, if you play the odds, you got 3 billion people that are not planning to pay 50 cents to get on the Spaghetti Monster ride, and there's only 20 of y'all. If you play those odds, you're probably just need some medication or some treatment. It's that kind of thing. And the cults do that. But then you've got the ones with the cult of personality. It's not that they make them suddenly believe in the purple monster. They get so many people that it just sounds just crazy enough that their natural mistrust kicks in, and they end up hopping on bandwagons. Which is where I think you end up with multitudes of religions up and down a 3-mile strip. Each one says something different. Well, that's because they all saying pretty much the same thing, but there's some little key little twist in each one of these places that fits their personality better. So now that's good cults, and and I don't want to call religions cults, but you know what I'm saying.
Before I was identified as, really I'm a Buddhist, but I identify to most people as a Dudist. But before I was a Dudist, I was a Pastafarian. And I really like it. And Pastafarians are Spaghetti Monster people. They're Pastafarian, like a play on the whole Rastafarian thing.
Yeah.
Everybody understands. But yeah, see, that's a great big thing to consider. Because it's all just, we make fun of people like the Indians, and the ancient people in Europe and the pagans and whomever else, because they had multiple gods, and it's just because they actually tied it to something in material world, and something instead of it being something outside of the material world. They called them, animists or pagans or whatever the hell they call them. They said, no, we're really just a one God kind of thing, but it's a trinity, So it's not just one God; it's many, and then if you're under certain divisions, there's the Mother Mary, and then if you're under others, and including the Mother Mary, then there's some saints you can go to, and so it's not just it's not just plain and simple, it's not just either or, it's complicated, and that's why I always go with the most absurd. Now, what I talk about and what I believe are two separate things. And this means I don't really talk about what I really believe. Because if I were to say what I really believe and someone would really be offended by it, then I would be offended by it. Then it would be a problem. So I just keep my private shit to myself and I go talk about the absurd. Just like a lot of candidates. They talk about the absurd. I want to tell you this. The first time I ever met a candidate, or actually not a candidate, a politician, first time I ever sat in a room, had food with the person, was a representative, a federal or national representative by the name of Jay Dickey. And he came into this room, this company that I was with, paid for him to have lunch. And he came in and he spoke with all of us, and I sat right beside him. And I sat there and I met, this is my first time, I was scared as shit. And I was like, oh wow, there's this dude. And I was like, wow. And then all of a sudden I saw him eat. And this guy was eating some cookies, and he'd been on the road. Of course, now I know, later on, 2 weeks later, I knew because I was talking to other people out, and they're like, Brad, this guy, he lives in a fucking car. He's always in the fucking car. He goes from place to place. Sometimes they get good food. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes he's nervous. He eats instead of food or drinking. This motherfucker ate. Anyway, so he was there. He had some cookies out there on the table. And there was different kinds of these homemade cookies all these women had made right in there. And this son of a bitch was up one. I call him a cookie monster. Because he ate, I guarantee you, he ate 2/3 of every basket out there. This son of a bitch had cookie crumbs all over his face. And I thought about it the other day. I was driving down the road, and of course, this guy was huge. I mean, he was fallible and infallible, just like all of us. But he was this dude. He has a highway now. But back, and my first impression of him, the first time I was ever around this big guy, man, this guy had been in Washington. he met the president, wanted to punch Bill Clinton in the mouth. This is Jay Dickey, Republican. He wanted to, he was that guy, but he was also a fucking cookie monster. In the private, and amongst of all his friends, and I can't talk about this now because he's got to be, if he's alive, I don't even have to check lately. I know he's got a highway named after him. But I do know that, he's a cookie monster in the back office back there. What do you think?
He's the back office cookie monster. No. Boy, that could go so wrong so fast. I remember Jay Dickey. I met Jay Dickey, and it was probably close to the same age around there, because you were probably interning or doing some of that summer work at one of our local big places that we had in our town. And and I think they did the same place at the other plant that we had in that town that I worked at, and it was the plywood mill before I became an E&I and stuff. And I don't remember him doing that, but I remember those obscene type things where you met him at different functions. And the time I met him, it was at the country club, and he was quite a bit older from that time. It'd been a long time since I saw him, and he just had some of the silliest mannerisms. I don't know if he was just getting a little feeble or what, but that's about the only time I remember meeting that man.
I mean, this is probably about 1994. He lost out of there real quick after. But he had been there for a while, man. Like I said, he has a highway named after him. 8 lanes out there. Yeah. He's cool.
Yeah, this is back during that time where hell, we didn't have cell phones and shit either. We were still, pretty much not connected.
We were locked to a landline. That's right. And all of us were mobile, because all of us, once you got to be 14 where we lived at, you gone. And I'll check in every day or two with Mama. But other than that,
that was it.
He went to his daddy's house a couple weeks ago, and he was down there with some blind girl. I don't know who she was. She had on tight pants, pulled up in a cracker ass. The kind of shit you hear back in the 80s. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But let's go back to him and what they used to let us be. Back then, we let people be who they're going to be because everybody's different. And this is what I'm talking about, the Buddha and the Rastafarian and all this shit. Nobody's fucking perfect. I don't care what kind of religion you go to. Nobody's perfect. Nobody goes home and never farts and just sits there and stares at the television. Is remotely controlled by the government and wherever else, so they're fucking done and cook dinner and they clean it and everything perfect and go to bed. I mean, that's just not. It's not humanity. And sometimes I'm telling my wife, like going, hey, we'll wash the 2 dishes tomorrow. Let's go to the bedroom, okay? Turn this shit off for the night. We done dealt with kids, we done dealt with parents, we done dealt with teachers, we done dealt with your mama and your daddy and everybody else in the whole world. It's time to lock the door. And I'm not saying, it's time to bang my penis against the wall. I'm just trying to lock off the outside world. I like Cornell song, I like, blow up the out. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to get butt naked. I'm going to shave my head. I'm going to have, whatever I'm going to do. It's being human. Fallible. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to be sitting in there, with, my perfect little panties on that are perfect and they're not staying anywhere and they're clean and I'm bulging in all the right places all the right times. Just a fallible human being, and that's the thing. This is where I want to go with this. And I typed in a message about the name of our podcast tonight being the Spaghetti Monster Ride. But we'll also finish it up with a little bit about social media, because I think that's what it is. It's all pie in the fucking sky. Because I look at a lot of social media stuff and I see what people are doing. Like today, I was up there and I was searching for another 4-wheeler. We recently purchased one, and I found this one. It looked good, and it's like, I was like, okay, so let's go down there and read, because my son, he's like, hey man, you can't just look at the top pictures. You got to go read what they say about it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll do that. But I scroll down, and in my brain, let me just preface everything by saying this: in my brain, I'm thinking, well, you got a clean seat and everything looks clean and good. It's usually okay, or it's something I can understand, or something you can communicate to me. But this dude here, I read about it, it's a perfect looking bike, all this kind of stuff, had fancy ass tires and colors and all kinds of shit. They put a lot of money into it. Okay. But he says, I can't get the crank, though. I don't know what happened to it. I'm like, what the fuck you just tell me? So you spend all this money decorating this motherfucker up, but you can't even figure out if it's a carburetor or a battery? You know?
Yeah.
And I was just thinking to myself, what in the fuck are you even doing with any kind of a machine? I'm going to tell you this. I used to run machines a long time ago. Oh, this would be another part of the machine, the secret machine. Let me tell you what the secret machine is. It's a gasoline fucking engine. It's an electric engine. It's anything that turns some kind of a ghost shit into something that makes you go fast. Like gasoline. It turns gasoline into something that makes you go fast. That's a fucking engine. It turns electricity into something that makes you go fast. Some kind of shit like that. Steam, whatever the fuck it is, okay? You can enumerate from there. But that's some ghost shit. Because that's not normal. You got to have a horse in the past to do that, dude. That's not, from my brain, it's not normal.
Yeah, it's just advancement. People finding better ways to do it, then they figure out, well, without thinking of any consequences to what they're applying it, they make it work. Well, then you start getting into the making money or, becoming powerful or whatever. I mean, now you get back to just humanity. Everybody trying to step on everybody else. It's in some shape, form, or fashion. I mean, I don't mean that in the way of actually, maybe it's mean. Maybe it's nothing more than you accidentally cut somebody off. Anything like that. You stepped on somebody or they felt you did, whether you meant that. That kind of thing. But with the secrets of the machine, I mean, that gets as bad as the secrets of your thought process. It's just a reaction down to the, I guess molecular level, atomic level and stuff. We're changing one thing to another and harvesting the energy. Because that's all we're doing is we're just harvesting the energy of a controlled explosion or an amperage or, something like that.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Have you ever read that book or heard of the concept by Ayn Rand? And it was called. Have you heard of Ayn Rand? Have you read of her?
I don't guess. I may recognize the name and just never knew who the author was.
Well, Ayn Rand did a couple, and I read one called. Oh my God, what was it? It was a friend from Washington D.C. recommended I read it, and I went and got it and read it. And it was called. It's a huge book, and my brain is totally fucking dead right now. But basically, what you were talking about kind of reminded me of that. But anyway, the point of the book is that somebody had basically invented a perpetual machine to run the trains to get it to move shit around, or the engine to move things around. And she was born during the Nazi period. So their brains are so much different. And I was, we can use this to jump off because this is really fascinating me. And we may have touched on this before, but it's always eternally fascinating to me is the brains that came out of. And let me just say this. The last time we had any kind of a fascist revolt, we had Germany in 1943. And from Germany, from all that came a lot of brilliant minds that created basically, space travel and time travel, the possibility of it, if there is any such thing. They gave us physics. They gave us quantum physics. They gave us all this stuff, travel, all this stuff. But yet, still, these are some horrible people. And right now, we're in kind of the same thing. We're only a small percentage of the population. I just don't get that we're getting the same kind of smart people from this, but there's always people that exist after things and do things, and I'm twisting shit. I think I probably either need to let you go or let you finish off some good shit, because I went from being optimistic like we were talking about to being negative, man.
Yeah, you've been kind of wandering there just a little bit, but as a
I was trying to find somewhere to go, but I was trying to, I don't know.
Not a problem, but as a preference of it, if you think about what you were talking about was the amazement of the brilliance of the minds that came out of areas around the world during certain time things. Well, there was a push for something, and of course at that time it was war weapons and space races and those kind of things. And just later, now as we were raised in this newer stuff, well, I mean, whether folks want to believe it or not is, like you was talking about with the, the perpetual machine and the alternate fuels, and all we're changing is the ways to harvest this energy that we create however we want to. Hydrogen. If they'll ever just find a way to safely produce it in today's time, and they have, so they're trying to market it, they're trying to do all these things, all these new things are coming from a need to get away from some of those fossil fuels. Whether we admit it or not, all the current technology is moving all away from it. From the same group of these brilliant people like you're talking about, because we sense there's a need. That's the only thing people keep talking about, but all the technologies, you don't see anything new with oil. There ain't no new, random, great, awesome technology that suddenly lets them, well, we can keep pumping it because we can do miracles with it now. So there's a sense that it's got to get away from that. And we're just finding better ways to harvest stored energy, So, yeah,
well, we're going
kind of like all that.
We're going to need rubber later on. Let's not use all the freaking petroleum for just gasoline. We need it for other shit, bro. I mean, come on. That's fine.
Well, it is, and it just goes back to the current deal that we geared into it so hard. No matter how bad we need to get away from it, we can't just drop it cold turkey. It's got to just be, there's got to be an understanding that, look, we've got to decide to move away from this and back down as you increase the other. Otherwise, you run into a big monster where everybody's doing whatever, so.
Quit smoking,
but again, man,
and move to pot.
There you go. That's it. All right, dude. Well, hey, I'm going to let you go. I'll holler at you later.
Be safe, bro.
All right, bye. Bye.